Hello and welcome back to Katawa Shoujo. Last time we learned that Lily is gonna be going back to Scotland and that she doesn't love us anymore. As class ends, I simply rest my head on my hand and stare out the window to pass the time. It's been a few days since Lily told me her plans. I haven't been to our ordinary lunchtime haunt since then, not that there would be much point. Hanako's been busy with the newspaper club that she's newly joined and has even begun talking in class with Naomi every now and then. Even Lily, aside from the fact that a meeting between us would have been awkward in any case, has been run off her feet with class representative duties as the summer holidays approach. And now they're just about here. With the end of today's bell, the summer holidays will have begun. I suppose that all I'll end up doing will be visiting my parents for the duration and lazing about my old home, now that my previous plans are entirely askew. Meanwhile, Akira and Lily will be en route to Scotland to live out the rest of their lives there. No matter how hard I try to rationalize the idea that once summer holidays begin, my life will return to the way it was, it simply refuses to happen. Everyone's moving on with their lives. Lily's rejoining her family, Akira's moving up in her father's business, Hanako's getting new friends and hobbies, and even Yuko's moving ahead with her university aspirations. Even I'm moving forward in the end. With the grades I've gotten so far in Yamaku, much less after such a rocky beginning, the path to get into teaching science as a career seems straightforward. I suppose I should at least be happy about that much, but it doesn't really seem to help.
Hee-chan!
I quickly stopped my ruminating and turned to face the bubbly voice beside me, putting on the most upbeat expression I can muster. As expected, Shizune stands flanking her. I have a sneaking suspicion they want something from me. Hey Misha, Shizune, what's up?
Well, Shi-chan and I were thinking, since we're just two poor little girls that need help with all the work we've been given just before the holidays begin.
Sure, I can help.
But Hee-chan, we're really neat. What?
I think I broke Misha. Even Shizune raises an eyebrow at her accomplice's shuddering stop in her tracks.
So you'll help us, Hee-chan?
I just said I would, didn't I? It's hardly like I have anything better to do. Maybe helping them with their work will help take my mind off the situation. Misha seems genuinely ecstatic with my response, but Shizune's expression is clouded and difficult to read. I find myself quickly averting my eyes from her, as it almost looks like a face of pity. No doubt it must be my imagination. She just pities the fool. This is hardly the first time I've been in the student council room. Indeed, I find myself down here often, either to help Lily with class ref work, or to sort out one thing or another with the student council itself. Now, though, it's quite a different place. We have the oldest laptop known to man. Papers and folders are strewn across every table in the room. Only a solitary little black laptop atop a single desk sticking out from the mess. It looks positively ancient, and I guess it has been valiantly serving its task and archiving information for years and years. So, what needs doing? This looks like a lot to do. I'm glad that it is also old to Hisao. I was like, this game is not that old. I mean, I don't know exactly when this game came out, but we had better laptops than that when this game came out. Shizune's expression becomes determined as she signs. It's a worrying look.
Everything, Hee-chan.
My worry was well placed. Everything, you say?
What's left on the desks is what needs to be done. It all needs to be digitally recorded, which is what the laptop is for.
And I'm guessing that I'll be the one doing this?
Shi-chan says she saw you with the computers in the library a few days ago and that you seemed really good with them.
Good with computers. I can touch type, I guess, but it still seems like an overestimation of my skills. I was just typing up homework. Wait, Shizune was watching me do that? What a freak!
Yes, I am a freak. One must know their allies before they can know their enemies, of course. Wow, that's pretty wise.
For once, it's not very hard to work out who said what. Nonetheless, it doesn't seem worth fighting over. Sitting at a computer doing some typing hardly seems onerous as far as tasks to help Shizune and Misha go.
Besides, it will help to take your mind off things.
Take my mind off things? Take my mind off what things? Misha's face goes blank as she translates this for Shizune, though the latter's response is only to glance away towards the window after briefly signing. Misha's face quickly returns to a smile as she translates back. She was confused, I guess, but Shizune is harder to pin down.
I was just thinking you may like to get your mind off the exams, of course.
Either way, we may as well get into it sooner rather than later. I'll go along with you.
That's the spirit, Hee-chan.
And that's the 5th spreadsheet compiled and saved. Time for next month's. After a little bit of fussing around, we all managed to get a bit more organized. Shizune has been gathering up the loose sheets and thankfully sorting them into a neat pile next to me. Meanwhile, Misha's been handling the manual writing work, her girly pink pen leaving its unmistakable mark on paper after paper. Once I got myself into a rhythm, this really wasn't so bad. Shizune and Misha also seem to be in the swing of things, wordlessly communicating as they go about their business with fervor. I periodically glance at the sheet beside the laptop, apparently a list of student names and matching addresses. As I dutifully enter the data written on it, I don't pay a lot of attention to what I'm typing in until I reach about midway down the page. Hakamichi, Class 3-3. Huh. Her family's home is in Saitama. My idle curiosity is ended abruptly as 3 light taps can be heard rapping on the door. Misha quickly skips over to check who it is, tapping Shizune's shoulder on the way past to let her companion know what's happening.
Ah, you're here!
Who is it? With a slight pause to enter Shizune's data into the file along with all the others, I look up to check who's at the door. Lily? After giving a cursory nod to Misha in greeting, she perks her head up in her trademark manner. Is that Hisao? She's pretty darn good at working out my voice from the smallest of phrases nowadays. Yeah, it's me. Hey. The atmosphere feels slightly awkward as she bows. Neither of us knows quite how intimate we should be around each other given she's leaving in just a matter of hours. This is a fact that, thankfully, neither the oblivious Misha nor the hard-working Shizune pick up on. So, you've got work to do as well? Unfortunately, I arrived as soon as I could, but my class held me up with a surprise farewell party, and I had to get changed. I glanced down at the laptop's clock. It's pretty much the end of lunchtime, so I'm guessing Lily managed to wrangle the last period off as well. I take it Shizune is here as well?
Of course. And I've been here during all the lunchtime as well.
That last comment was really not needed. Shizune's baiting Lily into another argument. I can feel it. I'm sorry I can't be as hardworking as you, Shizune. I'll endeavor to hire more lackeys to do my work in the future, I assure you. And Lily just took the bait, escalating things further.
But aren't you the one always outsourcing work to your classmates?
The difference is that they choose to help, unlike your tyrannical grip on your own class.
Tyranny works. Even if we did things differently, we still got the same results, right?
This is school, not a police state. You will have to remind me when you were appointed class monarch, I'm afraid.
You have to seize power. It's not as good if it's just handed to you, but I guess you wouldn't really understand that, right? You'll also have to remind me when monarchs were elected into their positions.
Lily positively bristles at this. Shizune's 2-hit combo forces her onto defense. Yet for all your vaunted power, you cannot get one person to help you without forcing him.
But Hisao volunteered. He's such a hard worker. He's doing this instead of meaningless socialization, right?
Is that so, Hisao? This is bad. I've really ended up between a rock and a hard place. As much as it pains me to do this, the truth has at least a chance of stopping this argument here and now. It's okay, Lily. They didn't harass me to come or anything. Lily gives me a disapproving grimace, silently radiating her strong feelings of displeasure in my general direction. She can be quite scary when she wants to be, though thankfully that isn't often.
Hee-chan, you make it sound like it's a regular occurrence.
It isn't? In the end, it doesn't matter so long as everything's getting done at a good pace. Let's just get this work over with so we can go home. Shizune snorts derisively and gets back to marking off the sheet in front of her, while Lily sighs and finds her way along the room with her hand following the filing cabinets lined along the wall. This would mark the only time I've managed to successfully defuse one of these situations, but the grudging ceasefire built around mutual fear and respect makes this feel like the Cold War than any real peace. I can't take all the credit, though. Lily's leaving has surely affected Shizune to some extent, to make her give up so easily. Moments before getting back to my work, I noticed Lily reaching up to grab something from above the filing cabinet. I almost offer to help, but her height gives her ample ability to take it down safely. Once she sets the strangely shaped device on the desk beside me, I realize just what it is. So, sort of, as she takes the old green covering off and sits down. It's a little typewriter. At first glance, it seems to be an old metallic blue typewriter, but it doesn't take me long to realize it's far from ordinary. It has far fewer keys than expected, and those it has shown no lettering printed on them, only the shadows cast by tiny braille dots on them giving the hint to the thing's purpose. Blind typewriter? Oh, this? Well, you're not far off. It's normally called a Perkins Brailler, but it's basically a typewriter for the blind, yes. It presses braille into the page rather than text, which is why it has fewer keys. Huh, that's really neat. She gives a light-hearted grin at my curiosity over it. I have to admit that it appeals to my sense of novelty. Without further ado, we each get back to our allotted tasks. The loud clunking of the mechanics in Lily's brailler and the tapping of the laptop's old and weary keyboard quickly fill the room. It's a nice atmosphere, really. Everyone knows what they have to do, and Lily and I get to sit beside each other and exchange the odd words as we work away. Nostalgic, that's what it feels like. It's pleasant, but just slightly stained with the knowledge that our time together is nearing its end. Excuse me, Misha. To properly address her, Misha bounces over from the filing cabinet she's peering into in spite of Lily's lack of sight. For a moment I think it's strange, but then realize it's exactly what I do. What's up? Could you ask Shizune where the attendance records for Class 3-2 are? I think they've been moved.
Okie dokie.
And with that, she flitters off to Shizune, who's working at a table behind us. Lily's familiarity with the council room and the efficiency with which she works remind me that she, Misha, and Shizune used to all work together in the student council. Maybe this is a fitting end for her stay in Yamaku, working away just like she used to, surrounded by those she loves and at least liked. I look up, getting taken off guard by Shizune sorting through a drawer rather than Misha. Sure enough, she plucks out a manila folder entirely blank save for the just barely visible bumps on its front, and holds it in front of Lily. Lily's hand flits over it to check what it is, her fingers feeling out the dots of braille and confirming that it's what she asked for. Thank you, Misha. No reply. No reply, that is, save for an odd grin, no smile, on Shizune's face. Aww,
Look, they're friends.
A couple of seconds pass before Lily clicks that it isn't Misha behind her, but Shizune. Her momentary look of surprise is replaced by a slightly bashful smile. For a few moments the room is all but still and silent. Eventually, though, Shizune strides back to her workstation and Lily begins typing once again. It only lasted a handful of seconds in all, but it feels like years of communication were made up for it in that one silent exchange.
How cute.
There, finished. I lean my head back and rub my eyes to try to work away their weariness. Staring at that small and rather poor screen has taken its toll.
Excellent timing. The only thing left is to file these away, and I'll have my workload finished as well.
Good. I can pack up the brailer and put it away while you do that.
Thank you, Hisao.
Misha, are you and Shizune far from being done? I look around for the two as I replace the cover over the brailer, only to see them waiting at the door. I guess they must be waiting for us. They're done. With a minimum waste of time, we file and pack up everything that remains and join them. Thanks for waiting, you two.
We couldn't just take off without you, Hichan. You've been a great help.
Shizune nods approvingly, pleased with my efforts. I guess that's the last class representative work done and over with then.
That's right. I'll miss you, Lily. I think it was fun working with you. Thank you, Misha. It's been good working with you. And Shizune.
Shizune thinks for a moment before formulating her response. It's not that she often communicates without thinking, quite the opposite, but this time it's even more considered than usual. Misha looks a little surprised before passing on the message.
Shizune says you'd better do your work over there better than you did it here.
Far from taking offense, Lily giggles into her hand.
If that's the case, then please tell Shizune to give those still here a little more understanding in the future.
Competitive until the last. Maybe Shizune and Lily aren't so different after all.
Shichan says that she'll be checking to make sure you live up to your end of the promise.
Then that's how it will be.
I better be off then. Goodbye, Shizune. Goodbye, Nisha.
Hisao. Lily takes a hold of my arm in hers, there being no need for a cane if I'm here to guide her. With a nod of farewell to the two, we set off out the door and make our way to the school grounds. As I turn to wave goodbye to them, I notice Shizune's gaze lingering on Lily. They may annoy each other, but family bonds aren't easily broken. Got all your papers sorted then?
Yes, they've all been filed out, handed in.
On top of things as always, aren't you? She gives an earnest smile at the compliment, but it feels as if her happiness is just a veneer over the fact that she's fully aware of how much she's leaving behind. It reminds me of how she was like when I first met her, always smiling, always that little bit of aloof, always that little distance away from everybody. Even now she still maintains the air around many others, especially those she's not close to. I had hoped that our time together would have changed that fact. Our pace slows, the two of us coming to a halt in the all but empty school gardens.
Hisao, is something the...
Lily's words are cut short as I turn and wrap my arms around her, pulling her tight. I may not usually be given to such impulsive actions, but I just want to be close to her, even if it's the last time I'll be able to. All the other students have retreated to their dormitories and homes. Only the ruffling of leaves in the breeze makes any sound whatsoever. She loves to boop my nose! As I draw back, I can see she has dropped her carefully maintained smile. Her hand hesitates, wanting neither to leave nor to stay on my features. She is putting up a brave show, but her slight trembling gives her away. Lily may be able to control herself well, but even she can't hold her composure together now. This is the woman I've come to love, but also the one who is in all too short a time will leave the country forever.
I'm sorry, Hisao.
It's okay. You've got your own life to lead after all. We walk up the hallway to the girls' dormitory hand in hand, our emotions by now largely quelled. Nevertheless, our hands grip each other's much more tightly than before. Faint muffled voices can be heard from Lily's room, the origins of which aren't difficult to guess. The moment she opens the door, Hanako bursts through and wraps her arms around Lily, taking her very obviously by surprise.
Lily. Hanako? I'm going to miss you, Lily.
As expected, she's on the verge of tears. Lily gently rubs Hanako's hair with her hand in response, then pulls back and gives a warm, reassuring smile. Looking beyond Hanako, Akira can be seen getting up from the side of Lily's bed and scratching her head. Her eyes turn from Lily and Hanako to me, a stilted, weak smile hanging on her face. I try to return a more genuinely happy look, but the result is probably just the same. So, everything's set? Managed to hold back from killing Shizune? The comment draws an amused giggle from her sister.
Yes, I have everything in order, and yes, I managed not to. Have you packed everything you needed?
Got the 2 bags right here, but there's still some stuff left at the Hakamichi's home. I can pick that up while we wait there for tomorrow's evening flight, though. Akira gives the 2 large black traveling bags on the floor a hearty pat. She probably came to help pack and make sure everything was in order on Lily's end before going together with her.
Lily, will you be okay over there?
I'll be alright, I assure you. I'll have Akira looking after me as well, and you know that she's reliable.
But...
Don't worry, Hanako, I have your phone number after all, so we can stay in touch. With Akira's help, I could send you things over the internet as well. Hey, don't use me just because you won't learn how to use a computer. Hanako and Lily both giggle briefly, the mood lightening ever so little. That goes for you too, though, Hisao. I promise I'll contact you once I'm in Scotland. I know, I'll be looking forward to it. Her offer may be kind, but we both know that this is a tantamount to breaking up. Neither of us has any illusions as to how well we'd manage in a long-distance relationship. With nary a word of prompting, the 4 of us begin the long, solemn walk to the school gate. The numerous lamps scattered around the Yamaku grounds fail to do much more than provide pinpoints of light in otherwise dense darkness. A car parked on the road just outside the school grounds comes into view, its shining black exterior reflecting the dimly lit lamps of Yamaku. I call out to Akira in an effort to alleviate a bit of the heavy atmosphere. That your car? What kind is it? Don't know too much about cars, do you? It's a Lancer Evo. Solid and speedy. Well, it's not as if her comment on my knowledge is off the mark. I've never really taken an interest in them. She gives a small sigh. She's been good. Pity I have to part with it tomorrow. Just like the summer house. You guys were the last to visit it before it changed hands. Turning back from my rather faulty attempt at small talk, I glance at Hanako and Lily following behind us. By rights, Hanako should be leading Lily, but it's rather definitely the other way around as she clings tightly to Lily's arm. It's a depressing sight. So, I guess this is it. Indeed. Although the time for everyone to say their farewells is now, nobody really wants to take the first step. It's as if the longer nobody speaks, the better the chances of them simply not leaving.
Lily, do you really have to go?
I'm sorry, Hanako. I won't be leaving you forever, though. I can still call you. Hisao will still be here as well. I nod, but Hanako just clutches all the tighter to Lily's arm. After spending so long without anyone to call family, it must be excruciating to have to say goodbye to the one person that was as close to a mother as anyone could have been in her life. Lily lets out a long and sad breath. All Akira and I can do really is stand by quietly on the sidelines, since the only person that can solve this would be Lily herself. Eventually, Lily pulls her arm from Hanako's grip and holds both of her shoulders gently, a much more decisive way to address that than I've ever seen Lily take with her. Hanako, remember when we first met? When you entered my room for the first time after overhearing my consoling of a friend, you didn't say a single word for the entire night. Even as I poured you tea and talked, you sat silently and simply listened to what I said. It took many quiet meetings like that before you began to open up to me, but as you began to, I felt some of the happiest moments I've ever felt. I didn't become your friend just because I pitied you, Hanako. I became your friend because I knew you were hiding not from me, but from everyone. Your ambitions, personality, interests, taste, I didn't know any of them, and neither did anyone else. As you showed yourself to me, I began to realize the person that you were, and became sure that our meeting was a very special moment.
But
Lily cuts her words short as she brings her hand to Hanako's head and brushes her bangs to the side, gently pressing her lips to Hanako's forehead. As she pulls her head back, leaving Hanako all but speechless and her eyes moist, Lily beams a wide smile. I believe you are a beautiful person, Hanako, and I am certain that you will become a strong and confident woman. You are a dear friend. You are a very dear friend, and someone whom I love very much. Just like Hisao, I will never forget you as long as I live. I may be leaving, but you have your own life here to lead. Just as I do, you have your own friends and hobbies and your own hopes after graduation. I want you to devote yourself to them even after I'm not around anymore. That is why I think you will be okay. Because you are your own self with your own life. You yourself have proved that to me. Hanako lowers her head in embarrassment but nods as she does so.
I understand. I know I have to say goodbye. I know you have to go your own way. But thank you, Lily, for everything.
Thank you, Hanako. Will you be okay? There are a few seconds of silence before the answer comes.
I will.
Lily smiles, undoubtedly, at least partly in relief. That makes me very happy, and goodbye.
Goodbye, Lily.
And farewell to you as well. There's too many wells. And farewell to you as well, Hisao. Goodbye. I'll miss you. She pauses for a moment before walking up to me, her right hand outstretched in front of her, takes a hold of my shoulder. Her left hand slowly, daintily reaches toward my face, taking a cheek in her palm. For a while she simply holds my face, her fingers just slightly moving to take in its contours. Usually her hands would be warm while doing such a thing, but the night's air has given her skin a cool edge. I'm not sure how long we stay like this, her clouded eyes pointed just below my own, as she wears a wistful, almost distant smile. Eventually, though, I take her cold hand in mine. It's difficult to do so, but with a slight sigh I gently remove her hand from my cheek. I hope you have a long and happy life, Lily, no matter where you might go. Thank you. I'll make sure to. She takes a long, trembling breath before turning slightly towards Akira's direction. Akira. Okay. With a nod, she takes Lily's hand and begins to guide her to the car parked outside the gates. They both walk slowly and deliberately, as if their movements had been rehearsed in advance. It's strange to feel this now, watching somebody leave Yamaku. The feeling of unease I have now reminds me of the first time I walked through those black wrought iron gates, that always looked far too pompous for what they were. As they leave, all of us know full well that our lives are irreversibly changing. I'd always told myself that I just have to take life as it comes, but everything's changing so fast, so suddenly. In the end, Lily's an irreplaceable part of the lives of both Hanako and me. The noise of Akira opening the passenger door for Lily brings me out of my thoughts, her hand waving back as Lily gets in. See you guys, take care of yourselves. Goodbye, Hanako. Goodbye, Hisao. Hanako's hand quickly shoots up, her face brightening by her enthusiastic farewell.
Goodbye, Lily. Goodbye.
See you, Akira. Goodbye, Lily. The door shuts as we all put on our best happy farewell faces. Akira getting in the car herself and starting it up in short measure. Lily's hand can just be seen waving through the tinted windows. Both of our hands waving high as well. Just as every other time I've done such things, I can't quite work out precisely why I, or Hanako, waved to her given that she's that she'd never see us doing so, but it doesn't matter. Even after that black shiny car goes down the hill and disappears into the dark night, we carry on waving and seeing Akira and Lily off. And then, they're gone. A strange stillness takes over as our hands return to our sides. I don't quite know what I should do or how I should feel. In the end, we just stand there silently staring down at where the car disappeared from sight.
Goodbye, Lily.
All I can do in response to her quiet, mournful goodbye is to place a hand on her shoulder. She looks at me for a few moments before looking back down the hill, secure in the knowledge that I'm still around for her. What we'll do from now doesn't seem all that certain, all that uncertain. We all have our own ambitions now, just as Lily said. But even so, it feels like there's a certain missing part in both of our lives now, something that can never be replaced. Credits? No? More? I figured that was the end. I'm afraid to read more.
I am gonna leave it here. If the next part is really short, then I'll just tack it on. But if it's not, then we will see what's to come in the next video.